Ethan Carter had always dreamed of exploring the stars. Ever since he was a child, he had stared at the night sky, imagining planets filled with strange creatures, endless oceans, and towering mountains unlike anything on Earth. He had read every book about space exploration, learned the languages of machines, and trained his body and mind for years to survive in the harshest conditions, but nothing in his life could have prepared him for Zalara. The moment his ship broke through the planet's outer atmosphere, Ethan felt a mix of awe and fear. The surface of Zalara was unlike anything he had ever seen. Rivers of liquid crystal sparkled under a soft golden light that seemed to come from the air itself. Mountains stretched toward the sky, their peaks sharp and glimmering as if carved from gemstones. And the sky, oh the sky, it shifted from deep blue to violet, and tiny glowing streaks darted like stars during the day. Ethan's ship landed in the capital city, a sprawling metropolis of buildings carved from the planet's own crystals. The streets were wide and clean, lined with luminous plants that pulsed gently like breathing hearts. Ethan stepped out, and a breeze, warm and tinged with a scent he could not identify, brushed his face. He felt alive but uneasy. He knew why he was here. The Council of Zalara had sent a strict message. Humans could live on the planet, but only if they married a native woman. The law was ancient, rooted in the science of survival. Humans' bodies could not naturally adapt to Zalara's atmosphere, and only through the genetic connection of marriage could they truly thrive. Without it, a human would weaken, their health deteriorating over time. The Council had been clear, no exceptions. Ethan swallowed hard. The idea of being forced into a marriage for survival was strange and uncomfortable. But survival meant more than comfort. He had to live, and he had to find someone willing to accept him. The first day in the city was overwhelming. The natives, tall and graceful, moved with a calm elegance that made Ethan feel clumsy in comparison. Their skin shimmered slightly, like the surface of a pearl, and their eyes reflected the colors of the world around them. They spoke in a melodic language, soft yet firm, and when they looked at him there was curiosity but also a quiet judgment. Ethan wandered through the streets, careful not to attract too much attention. He observed the floating gardens where plants hovered above the ground, their roots swaying in the air. Birds, translucent and glittering like living jewels, sang in a strange harmony that echoed softly between the crystal buildings. Children laughed and played, their giggles blending with the hum of the city. Yet Ethan felt alone. He tried to learn their language, listening carefully to conversations, repeating words under his breath. Each word sounded musical but alien. He understood that communication would be the key to his survival, and perhaps the key to finding someone who could help him live. On the third day, he ventured further, reaching a market filled with sights and smells he could barely comprehend. Food glowed softly in containers, moving slightly as if alive. Vendors spoke to customers with graceful gestures and smiles that seemed to carry deep meaning. Ethan hesitated near a stall, unsure what to buy, until a native woman approached him. "Are you lost, human?" she asked, her voice gentle but curious. She had silver eyes that seemed to reflect the colors around her and hair that shimmered like starlight. I'm trying to understand your city," Ethan said, his voice small. "It's beautiful, but I am not used to it." The woman smiled faintly. "Many come and feel the same. You must be careful here, human. The city watches closely. And your reason for being here, it is not common." Ethan nodded, unsure if he should speak further. "I know, I have obligations. I must survive here and I must follow the laws. I do not know how to begin." The woman studied him for a moment. "You will need guidance. The Council's rules are strict. If you cannot adapt, you will not last. But there is a way. The connection, the union, it is the only path." Ethan felt a chill, though the air was warm. The words confirmed what he already knew, but hearing them made it real. He needed someone willing to share a life with him, to allow him to live. And on this alien planet, that person would be a native woman. The woman inclined her head slightly. "I am Leora. If you wish, I can show you the city and help you understand. But know this, connection is not easy. It is more than survival. It is trust. It is respect. And it is a bond that changes everything." Ethan hesitated, then extended his hand. I would be grateful." "Thank you, Leora." She nodded and led him through the city, pointing out important places. The council building, where the laws were enforced. The healing pools where humans who had married natives adapted faster, and the crystal libraries where knowledge from both worlds was preserved. Every step Ethan took, he felt smaller and more uncertain, yet more aware of the beauty and danger of Zalara. As the sun, or what humans would call the sun, began to set, the city transformed. The crystals reflected soft light, painting the streets in shades of pink and purple. Floating lanterns rose into the sky, carrying messages and wishes from the citizens. Ethan watched in silence, feeling both awe and fear. He had never seen anything like it. "Do humans have this on your world?" Leora asked, noticing his silence. "Not like this," Ethan admitted. "We have lights and buildings, but nothing that glows like the sky itself, nothing that breathes with life," Leora smiled faintly. "Zalara is alive. Everything here is connected. The air, the water, the crystals, even the people. You must respect it. Only then can you survive." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He understood now that surviving on Zalara was not just about breathing the air or eating the food. It was about understanding the world, accepting it, and becoming part of it. And perhaps, he thought quietly, it was also about finding someone who could bridge the gap between his world and hers. The next days passed quickly. Leora taught Ethan the basics of the language, introduced him to customs, and guided him through areas where humans could safely stay. Ethan began to notice subtle differences in the environment. His body felt slightly strange. His skin tingled under the alien sunlight, and he grew tired faster than he ever had on Earth. One evening, after a long day of learning and exploration, Ethan sat by a glowing river with Leora. The water shimmered in colors he could not name, reflecting the stars above. He turned to her. I am scared, Leora. This planet, it is beautiful, but I feel so weak here. I do not know how much time I have." Leora looked at him with soft eyes. "The Council's laws are strict. Without connection, humans cannot survive. But fear is natural. You must focus not on what you lose, but on what you can gain. You have courage." "That is rare." Ethan smiled faintly, though worry still lingered. "And what if I cannot find someone? Someone willing?" Leora's gaze softened. "Then you will learn patience, Ethan, and perhaps you will find more than you expect. But you must be honest always. Honesty is the first step to trust, and trust is the foundation of survival." That night, Ethan lay under the alien sky, staring at stars he could not name. The wind carried whispers of the city, and somewhere in the distance the soft hum of life vibrated through the ground. He realized that Zalara was not just a planet. It was a living world, watching, testing, and waiting. Ethan closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "I will survive. I must, and maybe I will find her." As the twin moons rose, casting a silver glow over the crystal city, Ethan felt both hope and fear. The journey ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. To live on Zalara, he would have to navigate not only the alien world, but the delicate and mysterious hearts of its people. And somewhere in the vast city of crystal and light, a native woman named Leora held a key he could not yet understand. The adventure had begun. Ethan awoke to a soft glow filtering through the translucent walls of the guest chamber Leora had arranged for him. The room was simple but elegant, filled with soft lights and furniture shaped from the same crystal that made the city shine. The air felt alive, almost breathing, and Ethan realized how different every breath on Zalara felt. Even the air seemed to hum with energy, filling him with a strange combination of calm and alertness. He had spent a few days learning the basics of the native language, but speaking it was still difficult. Every word felt musical on Leora's tongue, and every gesture she made seemed to carry subtle meaning. Today she was waiting for him in the garden outside, standing among flowers that shimmered like liquid silver. "Good morning, Ethan," Leora said, her voice soft but clear. Her eyes caught the morning light, reflecting colors he had never seen before. "Good morning, Leora," Ethan replied, forcing a smile. His body still ached from the previous day's exploration, but he felt a strange excitement. Today, she had promised, they would visit one of the older districts of the city, a place humans were rarely allowed to see. As they walked, Leora explained the rules of the city and the history of Zalara. Long ago, the planet was ruled by tribes who lived in harmony with the crystals. The council was formed to maintain that balance, she said. Humans are new to this world, and their survival depends on understanding the laws. Marrying a native woman is not just a legal matter, It is part of the life force of this planet. Without it, a human cannot fully adapt. Ethan listened carefully, nodding. I understand, he said quietly. I want to live here, but I do not want to impose on anyone. I hope I can earn someone's trust first. Leora studied him thoughtfully. Trust is earned, Ethan, not demanded. You are taking the right steps, but you must also respect the land. Do not try to change Zilara for your comfort. Learn from it. Adapt to it. Their walk led them to a district built around a massive crystal spire, the oldest structure in the city. Inside, sunlight filtered through the crystal walls, scattering colors across the floor. The building was quiet, except for the soft hum of energy running through the spire. This is the Hall of Knowledge, Leora explained. Here, the history of Zilara is preserved. Stories, songs, laws, and scientific discoveries, all in one place. Ethan ran his hands lightly over the walls, feeling tiny vibrations through the crystal. It was as if the building itself were alive. It feels like it has a heartbeat, he whispered. Leora nodded. Everything here is connected. Even the crystals remember the past. Humans must respect this. Only then can they become part of the world. As they moved through the hall, Ethan noticed other natives studying ancient texts or meditating beside floating pools of water. There was a quiet dignity to the place that made him feel both awe and humility. He wondered if humans could ever truly belong here, or if he would always feel like an outsider looking in. Later, Leora led him to a small chamber where the council often met. This is where decisions are made. Laws are not just rules. They are agreements with the planet itself. Humans must follow them carefully. Ethan nodded, absorbing every detail. He knew that breaking the rules, even unintentionally, could be fatal. Survival depended not just on physical adaptation, but on understanding the deep connection between the people and the planet. After leaving the Hall of Knowledge, they walked along the edge of a river that glowed faintly in the sunlight. Ethan watched as tiny fish-like creatures darted beneath the surface, their scales reflecting a rainbow of colors. Leora sat on a crystal bench, gesturing for him to join her. Ethan, she said softly, how are you feeling? Physically, I mean. I know the air is different for you and the city moves faster than you might expect. Ethan took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. I feel tired, sometimes dizzy, but also amazed. Everything here is alive. It's overwhelming, but I want to learn. I want to survive, and I hope I can find someone to help me. Leora looked at him, her expression unreadable. Finding someone is not simple. Most natives are cautious with humans. They are kind, but cautious. We see the risks you bring, and humans have a short life here without connection. That knowledge makes people hesitant. Ethan lowered his gaze. I understand. I do not want to rush anyone or force them to care for me. I need to survive. And maybe someone will see me for who I am, not just as a human struggling to live. For a long moment, Leora said nothing. Then she placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. You are different from the others I have met, she admitted. You do not seem afraid to learn. You respect the world even though it is not yours. That matters more than you realize. The words warmed Ethan in a way he had not expected. For the first time since arriving on Zilara, he felt a spark of hope. Maybe survival was possible. Maybe he could find a bond that went beyond duty. Over the next few days, Leora continued to guide him. They explored hidden gardens, crystal bridges that stretched over glowing lakes, and small villages where families lived in harmony with nature. Everywhere they went, Ethan observed the care and precision in every detail. The way plants were nurtured, the way water flowed without waste, the way the citizens respected each other and their surroundings. Through it all, Ethan learned more about Leora. She was quiet but thoughtful, often pausing to observe details others overlooked. She had a gentle sense of humor and a curiosity about humans that made Ethan laugh more than he had in months. He shared stories of Earth, its oceans, mountains, and cities, and she listened intently, eyes wide with fascination. One evening, after a long day of exploration, they sat together on a hill overlooking the city. The twin moons rose slowly, casting silver light across the landscape. Ethan felt a mix of emotions, awe, fear, hope, and something else, something he did not yet understand. Leora, he said quietly, I know humans are fragile here, but I want to do everything I can to survive, and I want to do it with honesty. I hope maybe we can become more than just teacher and student. More than just Strangers. Leora turned to him, her silver eyes reflecting the moon's. She did not answer immediately. She was thinking, weighing the risk, the laws, and the growing bond she felt toward him. Ethan, she finally said, connection is more than survival. It is about trust, respect, and understanding. You cannot demand it and you cannot force it, but perhaps if you continue to learn to respect this world, the connection may grow naturally. Ethan nodded, feeling both relief and determination. I will try. I will do whatever it takes to earn your trust. And the planets, I do not want to fail here. The days turned into weeks. Ethan's body slowly began to respond to the atmosphere, though he still felt weak at times, but his mind grew sharper. His understanding of Zilara deepened and his bond with Leora strengthened. They laughed together, explored together, and shared quiet moments under the alien sky. One afternoon, while walking through a floating forest where trees hovered above the ground, Leora stopped suddenly. Ethan nearly stumbled into her. Look, she whispered, pointing to a cluster of glowing flowers. They pulsed softly, like hearts beating in unison. Ethan knelt beside them, feeling a strange warmth spread through his hands. They are alive, he said. Not just plants. They are connected to each other, to the forest, to everything. Leora nodded. Everything on Zilara is alive. Even humans can join the flow if they are willing. But only if there is trust, respect, and care. The connection is not just between two people. It is between all things. Ethan took a deep breath, looking at her. I want to be part of this. With you, Leora. I do not know how, but I want to try. For a long moment, Leora said nothing. Then she smiled softly. We will see, Ethan. We will see. As the sun set and the sky turned violet, Ethan realized that survival on Zilara was not just about laws or marriage. It was about learning, understanding, and forming bonds that went deeper than duty. And for the first time, he believed that he could do it, not alone, but with Leora by his side. The city shimmered below them, alive with light and sound. Ethan felt a spark of hope, knowing that his journey had only just begun. Zilara was beautiful, dangerous, and mysterious, but it was also a world that might one day become home. And in the heart of that world, a native woman named Leora was slowly becoming something more than a guide. She was becoming a friend, a partner, perhaps even a lifeline. Ethan knew the path ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges, uncertainty, and the constant threat of failure. But he also knew that with patience, courage, and trust he might survive. And maybe, just maybe, he would find something even more precious, a connection that could bridge the gap between two worlds. Ethan's first few weeks on Zilara had been a whirlwind of wonder, learning, and hope. But as the days passed, he began to feel the weight of the planet's strict laws and the fragility of his own human body. The air, though beautiful and alive, began to feel heavier. His skin tingled constantly, and his energy drained faster than he could replenish it. No matter how careful he was, the truth became unavoidable. Without a native connection, he would slowly weaken and die. One morning, he awoke feeling unusually weak. His limbs ached and his vision blurred slightly. Even the air that once felt full of life now seemed heavy in his lungs. He tried to rise, but exhaustion pinned him to the soft crystal bed. Leora noticed immediately when she entered the room, her silver eyes widening with concern. Ethan, she said softly, kneeling beside him, you should have told me sooner. You cannot hide this. Your body is struggling. The connection, it must begin soon or the council will not allow your survival. Ethan forced a smile, though it faltered. I did not want to worry you, he admitted. I thought maybe I could push through. Maybe I could find another way. Leora shook her head gently. There is no other way, Ethan. The laws are not just rules, they are a protection. Without union, your body cannot survive Zilara for long. You must choose. Ethan looked away, staring at the floating garden outside the window. The colors seemed brighter than ever, mocking his fragility. The thought of forcing someone into marriage felt wrong. He had grown to respect Leora deeply. He cared for her, but he could not bear the idea of asking her to marry him out of duty rather than choice. I don't want to impose on anyone, Ethan whispered. Especially not you. I fear that if I ask, it will only be because I am desperate, not because there is love or trust between us. Leora reached out and took his hand, her touch warm and steady. Ethan, the choice is not about desperation. It is about survival. Yes, but also about trust. We cannot force feelings, but we can decide to care for one another, to protect each other. That is the beginning of connection. He closed his eyes, taking comfort in her words. I want that. I want to survive, and I want to do it honestly. I want to earn trust, not demand it. Over the next few days, Ethan's health fluctuated. There were moments when he felt almost normal, able to explore and learn with Leora. But there were also days when he could barely stand, when every breath felt like fire in his lungs. The council watched him closely, sending emissaries to check his progress. He understood the silent warning. Time was running out. One evening, Leora led him to a quiet valley outside the city, a place where the air was thick with energy and the glow of the crystals was soft and warm. They sat together on a flat stone watching the twin moons rise slowly over the horizon. Ethan, Leora said, her voice barely above a whisper, I have seen how you struggle, and I have seen how you try to understand this world. That effort, it matters. But there is something you must understand. Connection is not only physical. It is emotional, spiritual. You cannot survive here alone, and neither can you thrive. To truly live, you must accept the bond, and the bond must be chosen willingly. Ethan nodded, tears welling in his eyes. I am afraid, Leora. Afraid that I will lose this chance to live, and afraid that I will lose your respect if I ask for something you do not want to give. Leora took both of his hands in hers, her silver eyes glimmering in the moonlight. You do not need to fear, Ethan. I have seen your heart. You care not only for survival but for understanding, for respect. That is rare. That is the first step. For the first time, Ethan felt hope blooming inside him. Perhaps he could survive. Perhaps he could form a connection that was genuine, not forced. But the fear of losing time, of succumbing to the planet's harshness, still weighed heavily. The next day, Leora invited Ethan to meet her family. It was a delicate balance. Humans rarely met the families of natives before a bond was formed, and doing so could determine whether a connection was possible. Ethan felt both nervous and honored. He hoped that his respect for Zilara and his genuine care for Leora would show. Her family lived in a small village surrounded by glowing trees and crystal pools. Her parents were tall and dignified, with eyes that reflected wisdom and kindness. They studied Ethan carefully as he bowed respectfully. We know why you are here, her father said, his voice calm but firm. You wish to survive on Zilara. That is understood. But survival requires more than law. It requires trust, care, and respect. Can you offer that? Ethan straightened, meeting their gaze. Yes, he said, his voice steady. I want to survive, yes. But I also want to learn, to respect, and to protect this world and the people in it. I care for Leora, not out of duty, but because I admire her and want to earn her trust. Her mother studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Your words are honest. That is the first step. But remember, Ethan, connection is not just about intention. It is about action. Only through shared experiences, care, and time can trust and bond grow. Ethan bowed again, grateful for their understanding. I will do everything I can, he promised. Over the following days, he continued to spend time with Leora and her family, helping with daily tasks, learning traditional crafts, and observing the ways of life on Zilara. He realized that survival was not only about adapting his body, but about immersing himself in the culture, understanding the planet and respecting its people. Despite the slow improvements in his physical condition, the urgency of the situation weighed heavily on Ethan. Every moment spent learning was also a moment ticking away from his survival. He could feel the fatigue settling into his bones more deeply each day. One evening, while walking beside a river that shimmered like liquid silver, Ethan turned to Leora. I think I understand now, he said quietly. The bond, it is not just law. It is not just survival. It is everything this planet believes in. I cannot survive without it, and I do not want to survive without respect and care, but I cannot ask for something you do not want to give. Leora stopped, looking at him with intensity. Ethan, the choice is yours. You can try to survive alone, and the planet may allow it for a short time, but you will weaken. Or you can take the risk of forming a bond with me, not out of obligation, not out of law, but because you choose to. That is the only way survival and life can truly exist here. Ethan's heart pounded. He knew the truth in her words. The decision was no longer about fear, it was about trust, hope, and connection. To live, he would need to step into the unknown, to trust not only the laws of Zalara but the feelings of another being. That night, Ethan lay awake under the alien sky, staring at the twin moons. He thought of the dangers, the risk, the uncertainty, but he also thought of Leora, her kindness, her wisdom, her patience, and he knew what he had to do. The next morning, he found Leora waiting by the crystal garden, her expression calm but expectant. Ethan took a deep breath, stepping closer. "Leora," he began, voice steady but filled with emotion. "I cannot survive here without the bond, but I do not want you to do this because the law demands it. I want this to be our choice. I care for you, not because I am desperate, but because I trust you, respect you, and hope we can face this world together." Leora's silver eyes glistened with emotion. She studied him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. "Ethan, I choose you. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Let us face this world together." Ethan felt a surge of relief and hope unlike anything he had ever experienced. For the first time, he truly believed that survival was possible, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and truly. As the city's crystal lights shimmered in the distance, Ethan realized that the journey ahead would be difficult. There would be challenges, dangers, and uncertainties, but with trust, respect, and a willing heart, he and Leora could navigate the rules of Zalara, the challenges of adaptation, and the mysteries of the planet itself. For the first time, Ethan felt not fear, but courage. He had made a choice, and in doing so, he had found a chance at life, love, and belonging in a world far from Earth. After the decision was made, a calm yet determined energy settled over Ethan. For the first time since arriving on Zalara, he felt a sense of purpose that went beyond mere survival. The bond with Leora was no longer a distant possibility. It was real, chosen, and mutual. But choosing to trust each other was only the beginning. The next challenge was learning to live fully within the rhythms of this alien world, to adapt not only physically, but emotionally and culturally, alongside Leora. The mornings began early, with sunlight filtering through the translucent crystal structures of the city. Ethan's body still reacted differently to the air and the environment, but the bond with Leora seemed to help him endure. Her presence brought calm and reassurance, and each time their hands brushed, he felt a strange warmth spreading through his chest, a sign that perhaps the connection was working, not only in law, but in life. "Today," Leora said one morning as they stood in the floating gardens, "we will explore the forests beyond the city. These areas are alive in ways you have not yet seen. The plants communicate, the animals cooperate, and the land itself reacts to your presence. You must remain observant, respectful, and patient." Ethan nodded, excitement and nerves mingling. "I will follow your lead. I want to understand this world as much as I can." The floating forest was unlike anything he had imagined. Trees hovered above the ground, their roots dangling like luminous ribbons. Leaves glimmered with colors that shifted depending on the angle of the sunlight. Small creatures with delicate wings flitted from branch to branch, their translucent bodies sparkling like liquid diamonds. Ethan marveled at the scene, trying to take in every detail. Leora guided him carefully, explaining how to navigate the floating pathways without disturbing the energy of the forest. "Everything here is connected," she said. "If you touch something thoughtlessly, it can disturb the balance. Humans often fail to understand that." Ethan followed her instructions closely, learning to move with care. When a small crystal flower pulsed beneath his hand, he felt a gentle vibration as if it acknowledged his presence. "It feels alive," he whispered. Leora smiled softly. "It is alive. Everything here has a consciousness, even if it is not like yours. To live here, you must respect life in every form." They spent hours exploring, Ethan gradually learning to sense subtle shifts in the environment. He discovered that patience and observation were just as important as strength or knowledge. With Leora's guidance, he began to feel less like a foreigner and more like someone slowly becoming part of Zalara. After the exploration, Leora led him to a crystal lake nestled in a quiet valley. The water shimmered like liquid silver, and tiny glowing creatures swam beneath the surface. They sat together on a smooth rock, their legs dangling above the water. "Ethan," Leora began, her voice soft, "connection is more than survival. It is about understanding, about feeling the world around you, and feeling the people who are part of it. You have chosen this bond, and I have chosen it with you. But the growth, The real understanding, that will take time. Ethan nodded, taking a deep breath. I know, I want to learn. I want to do whatever it takes to respect this world. And to respect you. Leora's hand brushed against his. Then you are ready. That is the first step. Trust must be nurtured, not demanded. You must continue to listen, to observe, to care. Then the bond will deepen naturally. As the days turned into weeks, Ethan's health slowly improved. The bond between him and Leora seemed to strengthen his body, though he still faced challenges. There were moments of exhaustion, confusion, and fear. But in each of these moments, Leora was there, guiding, encouraging, and supporting him. One afternoon, while exploring a canyon filled with glowing crystal formations, Ethan stumbled over a loose stone. His arm brushed against a sharp edge and he winced at the pain. Leora rushed to his side, her hand steady as she examined the cut. You must be more careful, she said, her silver eyes filled with concern. Zalara can be beautiful, but it is also dangerous. Every misstep can have consequences. I know, Ethan replied, his voice pained but determined. I am trying. Really trying. I want to learn, Leora nodded, and that is why you will succeed. Mistakes are part of learning. But always remember, respect comes first. Respect the world. Respect yourself. Respect others. That evening, as they rested beside a softly glowing river, Ethan reflected on his journey. He realized that survival on Zalara was not merely about physical adaptation. It was about patience, humility, and the willingness to immerse oneself fully in the world. It was about connection, not only with Leora but with every living thing around them. Do you ever miss Earth? Leora asked, her gaze thoughtful. Ethan smiled faintly. Sometimes. I miss the familiar skies, the oceans, even the chaos of cities. But I think I am learning to belong here. Slowly but surely, Leora reached out, her fingers brushing his. Belonging is not just about place, Ethan. It is about understanding, care, and trust. You are beginning to belong because you are trying. The bond between them deepened further when they faced their first challenge together. One night, a sudden storm swept through the city, unusual even for Zalara's dynamic climate. Winds tore through the crystal structures, lightning sparked across the glowing trees, and strange tremors shook the floating gardens. Ethan panicked initially, unsure how to protect himself in the unfamiliar terrain. But Leora stayed calm, guiding him through the chaos. Follow my lead, she said firmly, and stay close. Do not run ahead. Listen to the land. They navigated the storm together, Leora's hand steady in his, her presence calming his fear. When the storm finally subsided, Ethan realized that he had never felt such a mixture of exhaustion and relief. But more importantly, he had felt the strength of their bond, a connection that had helped him survive the night. You did well, Leora said softly as they returned to safety. You trusted me, and the bond between us carried you through. That is the essence of connection, Ethan. Not just survival, but relying on each other, supporting each other, understanding each other. Ethan nodded, feeling a wave of gratitude and warmth. I could not have done it without you, Leora. I understand now. This bond is everything. It is life itself here. Weeks turned into months, and the bond between Ethan and Leora continued to grow. They shared quiet moments under the glowing moons, explored hidden corners of the city, and learned the delicate dance of living in harmony with Zalara. Ethan's body adapted more fully, his strength returning, his energy stabilizing. But more than that, his heart had found a connection that gave him purpose, courage, and joy. One evening, as they sat on a hill overlooking the city, Ethan turned to Leora. I think I am beginning to understand Zalara, not just the land or the rules, but the life, the connection, the people, and I am beginning to understand myself better too. Leora smiled, her silver eyes reflecting the twin moons. That is the greatest lesson of all, Ethan. Understanding oneself while learning to understand the world and others, that is how you truly belong, and you are beginning to belong. Ethan felt a quiet pride and deep gratitude. He had come to Zalara as a stranger, a human who could not survive without the bond of marriage, but he was becoming something more, a part of the world, a part of its life, and a part of its people. And with Leora by his side, he felt that anything was possible. As the moons rose higher, casting silver light across the city, Ethan realized that the true challenge of Zalara was not survival alone. It was learning, growing, and connecting. And with Leora, he knew that the journey ahead, though filled with challenges, danger, and unknowns, would be worth every step. The city of Zalara shimmered under the twin moons, crystal towers reflecting silver light, rivers glowing faintly in the darkness, and the gentle hum of life vibrating through the air. Ethan and Leora stood at the edge of the central plaza, holding hands, feeling both anticipation and quiet triumph. The path they had walked together was long and uncertain, filled with fear, challenges, and moments of doubt. But now, after months of struggle, learning, and trust, they were ready to take the next step, building a life together on this strange and beautiful world. Ethan looked at Leora, his silver-eyed companion, his guide, and now his chosen partner. "I still can't believe we've come this far," he said softly. "I remember when I first arrived, unsure if I would survive a single week. Now, I feel like this world could be my home." Leora smiled gently. "And it can be, Ethan. But home is not just about survival. It is about understanding, growing, and protecting what you care about. You have learned that well. Together we can face whatever comes next." Their first challenge came unexpectedly. A sudden tremor shook the city, sending small shards of crystal tumbling from the towers and startling the citizens. The council had predicted occasional natural disturbances, but this one was stronger than expected. Ethan and Leora rushed toward a nearby residential area, where families were trapped beneath fallen crystal beams. "Stay close to me," Leora instructed, her voice calm but urgent. "We must help them without panicking. You have the strength, Ethan. Use it wisely." Ethan followed her lead, using techniques she had taught him to lift fallen beams and create safe pathways for the trapped citizens. His human strength combined with the bond's energy seemed to give him clarity and endurance he had not thought possible. Together they guided the families to safety, earning the respect and admiration of the native people who had once been cautious about his presence. By the time the tremor subsided, Ethan's body was exhausted, but his heart was full. He had faced danger, uncertainty, and fear, and he had done it not alone, but with Leora. They stood together in the quiet aftermath, watching as the city slowly recovered. "You did well," Leora said, placing her hand on his shoulder. "You helped more than you realize. This is the strength of our bond. Trust, care, and courage, these are what make survival possible." Ethan nodded, feeling a deep sense of pride and belonging. "I couldn't have done it without you," he admitted. You gave me guidance, patience, and courage. I am beginning to understand what you meant about connection. It isn't just survival, it's everything." As the days passed, life slowly returned to normal. Ethan continued to learn more about the planet, practicing his understanding of the native language, observing rituals, and assisting in projects that helped maintain harmony with the environment. But the most important lessons were those shared with Leora, away from the eyes of the council and the city. They discovered quiet joys together, swimming in glowing lakes, watching the skies shift with brilliant colors, and talking under the crystal trees that whispered softly in the wind. One morning, Leora brought Ethan to a high plateau overlooking the vast landscapes of Zalara. "Look," she said, gesturing to the horizon. "This world is full of possibilities. There are still places we have not seen, challenges we have not faced, but together, we can explore, learn, and protect it." Ethan gazed at the breathtaking view. Mountains that shimmered like gemstones, forests suspended in midair, rivers that glowed with life, and valleys alive with motion and color. "It is beautiful," he whispered, "and now it feels like it could be ours." Leora turned to him, her silver eyes bright with emotion. "It already is, Ethan, but a home is more than just a place. It is about the people we share it with, the bonds we nurture, and the life we create together." Their relationship deepened further as they began to make plans for a life beyond mere survival. They built a home near the floating gardens, a crystal structure that blended seamlessly with the environment. Ethan helped shape the walls, learning to work with the delicate materials under Leora's guidance. They cultivated plants together, creating a small garden that reflected both the alien beauty of Zalara and their own human creativity. Evenings were filled with conversation, laughter, and shared dreams. Ethan told Leora stories of Earth, of oceans, forests, and cities, while Leora shared tales of Zalara's past, its legends, and the wisdom of generations. They discovered that their worlds, though different, shared common values: love, respect, courage, and hope. One night, As the moons rose high, Leora turned to Ethan. "Do you ever think about what brought us here?" she asked softly. Ethan smiled faintly. "I think about it often. I came seeking survival, but I found something more. I found connection, trust, and love. I found a place where I belong. And I found you." Leora reached out, her hand resting gently on his. "And I found you. Not just a human struggling to live, but someone willing to understand, to respect, and to grow. That is the essence of connection, Ethan. That is the essence of life on Zilara." The months turned into seasons, and Ethan's adaptation to Zilara became complete. His body thrived under the twin suns, his energy stabilized, and his strength returned fully. But the greatest transformation was emotional. He no longer felt like an outsider. He was part of Zilara's life, a participant in its harmony, and a partner to Leora in a bond that transcended law or necessity. The council formally recognized their union in a ceremony that was simple, yet deeply meaningful. The citizens gathered in the central plaza, the crystal petals of floating flowers drifting gently in the air. Ethan and Leora stood together, hands intertwined, feeling the warmth of trust and respect surrounding them. "You have chosen each other," the council leader said, voice resonant and clear. "And in doing so, you have honored the planet, the laws, and the spirit of life itself. May your bond strengthen not only your own lives, but the harmony of Zilara." Ethan felt tears welling in his eyes. He had survived, yes, but more than that, he had lived fully. He had learned, grown, and loved in a way he had never imagined possible. After the ceremony, he and Leora retreated to their home near the floating gardens. They stood together watching the city shimmer under the twin moons, feeling both peace and excitement for the future. "I never thought I could feel this way," Ethan whispered. "Not just alive, but whole. And it is because of you, Leora. You showed me patience, trust, and love. You helped me become part of this world." Leora smiled, her hand resting on his cheek. "And you showed me courage, determination, and honesty. Together, we are stronger than we could ever be alone. That is the gift of connection." Ethan leaned closer, feeling the warmth and certainty of her presence. "Then let us face everything together," he said softly. "The challenges, the adventures, and the life we will build here together." Leora nodded, her eyes bright with hope. "Together, Ethan. Always together." Over time, their life on Zilara became a beautiful balance of work, exploration, and joy. Ethan continued to learn about the planet, studying its energy flows, its creatures, and its mysteries. Leora guided him, and together they discovered new ways to live in harmony with the land. Their bond became stronger each day, rooted not just in survival, but in mutual respect, understanding, and love. They helped the city in small ways, organizing knowledge about the floating gardens, assisting with the care of glowing rivers, and teaching other humans who arrived on Zilara the importance of connection and respect. Ethan's story became an example of what humans could achieve when they embraced the planet, its laws and its people fully. Years later, standing atop the crystal spire overlooking the city, Ethan reflected on his journey. He had arrived on Zilara as a stranger, a human struggling to survive. He had faced fear, isolation, and uncertainty. But through patience, courage, and the bond he shared with Leora, he had found more than life. He had found belonging, purpose, and love. Leora stood beside him, her hand in his, her silver eyes reflecting the city below. "Do you remember your first day?" she asked softly. "How unsure you were, how afraid." Ethan laughed quietly. "I do. I thought I would never survive here, that I could never belong. But now, everything feels right, because of you, because of the bond we chose, and because I learned to respect this world fully." Leora smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. "And because you never gave up, Ethan. That is what made this possible. Together we created a life that neither of us could have imagined alone." Ethan looked out over the glowing rivers, floating gardens, and shimmering city. "Yes," he said softly, "a life full of hope, trust, and connection. A life worth living, a life together." The twin moons rose high in the sky, bathing Zilara in silver light. The city pulsed gently with energy, a living testament to harmony, connection, and life. And in the midst of it all, Ethan and Leora stood hand in hand, ready to face the future side by side, as partners, friends, and family. For Ethan, the journey had been more than survival. It had been a transformation, from a human alone in a strange world to a being fully alive, fully connected, and fully loved. And as he gazed at Leora, he knew that the adventure was only beginning and that together they could face anything this beautiful, mysterious planet had to offer.